Hey, what's going on, y'all? Welcome back to today's episode. We have got a dynamite one for you here with Kaylan Pope, our good buddy from Errors Anonymous. I'm sure a lot of you guys are familiar with Pope, and you'll hear me reference him as Pope a lot here in this one. But he's a good friend of mine, and this dude lives and breathes turkey hunting. I know he's a diehard whitetail hunter as well, an arrow builder. Many of y'all might know him for that aspect of things, but for those of you guys that actually know Kaylan, he is a diehard turkey addict. And I was so stoked to just get on here and just jive with him a little bit and pick his brain on some tactics and thoughts and, just really have a good conversation on a deep dive of turkey hunting. I've had a few of you guys reach out and want some of this stuff, and my apologies that I have not done it sooner. It's been turkey season for me lately, and it was a great one. I learned so much this year. Had a lot of good encounters, got to hunt with some buddies. But I'll tell you what, it was a tough one for a lot of guys. Many of the states surrounding us, it was just a weird year for turkeys this year. So, we get into a ton of good topics as far as setups, some situational stuff on birds and how Pope, attacks this versus that, and really get into some good stuff that I think y'all will really enjoy. I hope you guys do. We've got some announcements from Lone Wolf. Just spoke with Cody not too long ago about the Whitetail Roadshow. For those of you guys that are familiar with the Mobile Hunters Roadshow, they're rebranding it and renaming it as the Whitetail Roadshow, and really excited for it. They just released, I believe they're going to do Ohio, Virginia, Iowa, and I know there's one that I'm missing. Anyway, get on there, get online. I'm going to be sharing some stuff on our stories on Instagram, Facebook. Stay tuned for that, guys. I know they're doing a little bit different schedule this year in some different states, so stay tuned for all the details on that. Let's give a huge thanks to our sponsors that make this possible: Lone Wolf Custom Gear, Osseo Gear, Painted Arrow Outdoors, and Timberwolf Supply Company. Hope y'all are following each and every one of these companies, guys, and staying up to date with them. It's getting into be gear season. I know turkey season's winding down a little bit, but if you guys are looking for some new gear, get some stuff on order. It's about that time. Go through your kits and see what you need and get that stuff sooner than later. I feel like a lot of guys really kind of procrastinate and wait for right around season, and man, you aren't going to be able to get your stuff. So right now is a great time to get that and make sure you got it in time for season. Got a great quote today for a quote of the day. This one's related to turkey hunting, and this one's actually from Bob Henderson Jr. Hope you guys like it. A turkey hunter should not enter the woods to kill a turkey, for with this objective and critical ingredients to turkey hunting experience are lost. A turkey hunter should enter to battle with a turkey, with all intentions and tactics of winning the battle. Hope you guys enjoyed that. It's absolutely the truth too. I feel like I've grown a lot deeper connection to the woods this spring as far as turkey hunting goes, and just really honing my woodsmanship, man, and just really enjoying it. So hope you guys have had a great spring. Hope you guys enjoyed today's episode with Kaylan Pope. Let's get into it.
Okay.
So what's up, brother? Welcome back to the show, man.
Yeah.
Appreciate you.
No, dude, anytime.
Yeah.
Anytime.
We've been keeping up all through turkey season. I feel like we've grown closer this spring, just touching back and forth. And man, you had a heck of a year. And I said to you, I was like, we have got to get together and just talk turkeys and do a good episode. I feel like you're one of my more diehard friends. I've only got a handful of y'all that really get after birds like this, and I figured who better to talk turkeys to than you, man. So
I appreciate it, dude. I love it. It's a totally different feel than deer season. You talk to people and they're like, "Man, I just don't know how you find it exciting." And you're like, "Dude, I don't know how you don't." But if you've never been there, you don't know. You know what I mean?
And it just has different levels, unlike other things. Like, I feel like it's steadily, like, the fire just burned deeper and deeper every year, man, chasing these birds. And really, Kentucky lit the flame like hardcore for me, because where I grew up in Maryland, man, we just didn't have many turkeys, really. Like, unless you wanted to drive 2-3 hours over from where I lived at least to go to the Eastern Shore. They had a
Right.
bunch of birds. But I grew up just running and gunning with a bow on public, and that's
Right.
the only way I could hunt close to home. So, but our
Well,
population there has come up a lot recently since I moved away. So it seems like a lot more people are seeing turkeys on farms, and it wasn't the case, not that long ago. So it's kind of cool to see that.
yeah, I think it's rebounding in some of the places. I think the cicadas helped. I honestly do. I think the cicadas helped a lot, and I think we're supposed to get another run of cicadas this summer, which is also great.
Yeah, it seemed like it. I just seen some guy dressed a bird and it was full of cicadas. So
Yeah,
what
yeah,
makes you think that? Is it just because there's that much extra food for them, so it gets
yeah.
them
They're
through?
just they're not having to scavenge as much. Just a lot of high protein.
Yeah,
So if they have to renest or something, they've got the energy to do it. I just think it's a lot better for them.
yeah. Yeah, I noticed here from trapping, man, it really helped my property at least. Like, the poults get through. I know we had a flock of like 12 or 13, man, that was insane to me. And all of them made it. They all hung with that hen, and I'd see them in the fall, and I was like just beside myself how many birds we had 2 years ago.
Right.
So I think that
The
plays a part. And like there ain't no money in trapping anymore. So there's less and less people out there catching raccoons and possums and foxes and all that. I mean, there's just coyotes are popular, but the other nest predators are not.
the craziest thing I've ever seen is like I went to a property one year and there was probably like 8 birds on it. Pretty big property, like 1,500 acres. Well, they come in the winter and select, cut, and burn the underbrush. And I swear, dude, there was like 35 birds on that property.
No
Like
kidding.
35 gobblers. Yeah, and they can. I mean, they're just. Yeah, the hens will nest in the thick stuff, but when those birds come down, they want to be able to see. They don't want to pitch right into a coyote. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
but yeah, it was crazy. That was what really made me a believer of like cleaning up habitat and like especially pines, man. They do real well in pines if you can keep the undergrowth out of it, which is
Hmm.
like the only animal that pines are worth anything to. You know what I mean?
Absolutely, man. Yeah, that's really where I cut my teeth chasing turkeys was on a big pine thicket that I could go to every year, and it had at least 4 or 5 birds in there, like easy, probably more than that, looking back.
Right.
But that's really where I learned, man. I'd call to them too much. I'd hang up. Nobody taught me. And before we jump into all this, I really want you to kind of explain, to our audience, like how long you've been turkey hunting. That y'all get 4 birds, right, in Alabama,
Yes.
and who taught you? Where'd you really learn? And what where was the fire really lit for you in turkey hunting?
It's kind of super weird. So I went one time with like a youth group, like kind of an outdoor ministry thing when I was like 14. And then I heard a turkey gobble, but I didn't think much of it. And so whenever I met my wife, like, I got cleaned up off drugs and stuff. And uh, I had started, like, I got my bow back out and I was like, man, I think I want a turkey hunt. And I didn't watch YouTube or anything. I still to this day, dude, I don't watch any TV really. I don't watch YouTube TV unless I'm going to buy something.
Yeah,
So, like, I was like, all right, I've been once, like, I'll just like go, like we weren't ever like even close to these birds. They were across like a paved road. So I started going to one of our local WMAs, dude, and just grinding. And like, dude, it was so, I was so bad at it. Like there was a point in time where my wife was like, I don't even know why you go.
yeah,
You know what I'm saying? Like, well,
yeah,
what are you even doing? And I finally got on like a bird that was just stupid hot. Like I was like almost a mile away from him. He was across a like big ridge system across a creek, back up on top of the other ridge. And I remember like I was on the top and I called to him like a mile away. He gobbled, and I'm like walking to him, just calling to him. And like, every
uh-huh,
time I call, he's gobbling, and I'm like, I have no
yeah,
idea what I'm doing. So I'm like, I finally get across the creek. I call to him again. He gobbles. Well, like me not knowing what to do, I get to the bottom of the ridge and he's on top. It's actually a little bit of a bluff right there. Like I pull every call out I have, like I'm about to set up and call this bird right to me, dude. And
uh-huh,
Dude, I hit the call, and I remember, dude, that bird looked off of that bluff. He was probably 30 yards above me and gobbled right at me. And I could have killed him then. I just didn't know. I didn't know any better.
Yeah.
And so my thing was like, I was like, all right, I gotta make a move. That used to be my thing. Like, I gotta make a move. So I get a somehow, dude. Somehow I get on the top of this ridge with this turkey, and he has not seen me. Like, if somebody had to pay me to do this shit today, I could not can replicate it. Dude, there's no way. So I get up
Uh,
there and again I set all my stuff out. There's like a log and kind of a little lump in front of me. And I hit the call and he sounds like he's about 120 yards away. And I was like, okay. So I was like, I'm gonna stand up, I'm gonna creep a little bit closer, I'm gonna make one last move. So I stand up and he had gobbled away from me. And that tells you how little I knew. I didn't know the pitch difference. He was standing there at 20 yards, maybe 25. I threw my gun up, shot him in the chest, and he flew off. I didn't kill him. I was like,
oh,
and dude, that day was even crazier. I think that's the day that really hooked me because after I shot him, there was a bird that was sitting on the limb that probably saw me come up and pitched up.
yeah.
And he actually dropped down like 10 yards in front of me, hit the ground, and gobbled and ran off. And then I struck another bird up, and I was like, probably about like a quarter mile away. And I was just like, this is the craziest day ever, dude.
Yeah. Hit like the peak of breeding season and they were just
Yeah,
like
it's
ready to ride
just
home with you.
it was perfect. And like this dude like walked up after I shot, and he was like, bro, where are you parked at? I was like, man, I really don't I don't know what to tell you, dude. Like this was pre Onyx, like pre anything. I heard the
Yeah.
turkey gobble and I went, dude. And I'm like
Right.
probably like a mile and a half away from the truck. And he was like, what road you pulling? And I told him, he was like, dude, you were like a mile and a half, 2 miles away from your truck. I was like, yeah, will you give me a ride? And he gave me a ride back. But yeah.
That's awesome, man. So, I mean, were you always by yourself in the beginning? Like, or did you go with a buddy?
Yeah, I've never even I think until I've only hunted with like three different people. And
Okay.
Uh, one of them, the first time I ever hunted with somebody, I called a bird in for him and he killed it. And that was it. Like we worked together. It was a cool experience. I knew the bird was there, and I just hunted alone ever since then. And then me and one of my buddies, Jesse, we started going probably 5 years ago. Every year, we would
Okay.
go to his place in Tennessee, and dude, the first year we went, dude, we probably got on like 16 different birds, and like I made a bunch of mistakes, like. Dude, we should have killed like four different times. I ended up like we were trying to get to a bird and the bird heard me crawling and I'm trying to tell Jesse to crawl up and the bird actually walked up to me like 10 yards. And Jesse's like trying to give me his gun, telling me to shoot him. And I'm like, no, dude, you need to kill a turkey. Like, and
Right.
the bird just walks off and starts drumming and Jesse's too far back. He don't want to shoot by me. But we've gone every year and we finally called him one in this year, which was awesome. He's killed a turkey before,
Yeah.
but he shot it off a greenfield just in the afternoon walking through feeding, and I kind of got onto him. I was like, brother, that's not what you need to be doing.
Right.
And
You
so
like wanted him to experience like the experience of calling a bird in. Right.
right, and
Yeah.
dude, this bird, we couldn't have got a better one this year. We
Yeah.
got
Let's
on
hear it.
three at day we got on three at daylight, and they pitched off away from us, and then one hung with a hen. I ended up calling the hen right to us. Gobbler didn't follow her. Like she was 10 yards and walked right by us, and I was kind of confused about that. I was like, why didn't he come? Well, I think he did. He just hung in the bottom and took a different route because we ended up on top chasing the three. They were coming. Figured out that a trespasser bumped him. He left, and that bird was sitting in the cutover gobbling. He was probably like half mile away, and I just let him gobble. I wasn't even messing with him. I was thinking, like waiting on the three. Well, it was. I told it. We'd been there about an hour and a half just sitting there, and I told Jesse. I said about 9 o'clock. I said I think we can kill that turkey over there. So we come up, we get up, and Jesse's like, "Well, let's get over there to him." And I was like, "Well, hold on," because he wanted to go down the side of the ridge. I was like, "Let's get to the point and let me call to him." Well, I had called to him right before we got to the point, and he cut me off.
Hmm.
So
How
Jesse was
close
like, "You
was he?
want?"
What'd you say?
Uh, I'd say 600, 700 yards.
Okay.
But he was in the wide open. Like I was like, maybe he cut me off. Like we'll see. So I got to the tip of the ridge, probably maybe 3 minutes later, and I hit the call again, and two birds gobble in the bottom to our right at probably like 200 yards, and I was like, okay. Like, maybe we'll see. So
Hmm.
I'm sitting there, sitting there, sitting there, and I'm waiting for the bird in the cutover to gobble again. Well, I hit the call, and when I hit the call, he strikes off at 70 yards to our right. And I grabbed Jesse by his shoulder and threw him on our trail. I was like, sit the fuck down, dude. We got to sit
Yeah.
down.
Yeah.
And we
That
get
dude came
sat
on a
down.
mission to you, didn't he?
Yes, and I
Yeah.
know it was the same bird because when that bird was following the hen that morning, he was probably 300, 400 yards away from us, and we could hear him drum.
Uh
Like,
huh.
it was ridiculous, dude.
No
I've
kidding.
never heard a bird drum that far. So, whenever he was at 70 and closing, I started hearing him drum. And I was like, that's him, dude. That's the bird that was in the cutover.
Hmm.
Well, uh, Jesse was set up, and I'm sitting there, dude. My heart's in my throat. And I'm like, dude, just maybe he didn't see us. Maybe he didn't see us. So I hear him drum. I'm like, okay. And Jesse goes, I can see him. And we were going to try to double. And I was like, don't shoot him. And then I
Yeah.
was like, oh, I should have told him to shoot him. I was like, man, that might have been the one look he was going to take. And I toasted us. And when I thought that, he drummed. I was like, oh, shit. This
Yeah.
bird's hot, hot. Dude, I'm talking about when that bird, the next 4 steps he took, he like, they'll kind of like real quick run in
Hmm.
and just hit full strut and
Yeah.
drum.
Right.
And like, this is like 20 yards in front of us. And then he picks his head up. I was like, toast that motherfucker, dude.
Hmm.
And he
Heck yeah.
killed him, dude. And it was awesome.
Oh yeah, dude, it don't get no better than that, right? Like just waiting for that, and I think that's like kind of the hardest thing to explain to somebody that doesn't have like a turkey mentor or anything is like the difference between continuously calling to a turkey and getting in that waiting period of like, all right, he knows we're here, just shut up. Like just keep your eyes peeled, man. And thank God they can drum because I feel like that's like one of the only things that we got sometimes when they aren't gobbling that you can actually hear the little jokers,
Dude,
you
well,
know.
I've only heard like 4 birds ever drum. Like, I usually
Oh,
don't
really?
hear it. Yeah, I usually don't hear it. But on his places where I've heard 3 of the 4,
Yeah.
I don't know how to explain it. I don't know if it's the terrain or
Like
what,
they got good
but
drumming genetics in there,
dude, yeah, they do it, dude. They be
That's what's
drumming
up.
over there.
Man, I've noticed a lot of big field birds really like doing that,
Yes.
and I know you're going to judge me when I say this, but I started off when I first came here to Kentucky with just hunting them in the blind in the fields, and it was a very what's the word for it? A simple way to turkey hunt. You honestly didn't need to do much here, and there's a lot of stuff that you can do wrong and still kill a bird,
Right,
right? Like those turkeys, and I grew up hunting hardwood birds, right? So I came
right,
out here to the fields. I meet my older buddy Leon. He's like a turkey fanatic. Like the
right,
dude, he was the first dude to do a grand slam with the archery equipment, and he just won't come out of that blind. And I'm
right,
like, all right. So I did that for a couple years, but I always enjoyed the running and gunning style. Like it was still in my blood. Like I'm like, I don't care. I'll kill one with a bow, but I still want to shoot one with a gun, like and get after him.
right.
And this year, man, it honestly, I did it, a couple times, and it just some people might not like this, but I felt like it was just too easy. It just became like you're not getting the full experience of spring turkey season. I just don't believe you are. You're not sitting there on the ground, high level with these things and getting them to come in so close that I can't shoot him because he's behind this brush or like like
Right.
there's just like it's a lot easier for that bird to skirt you or bust you or whatever the situation is. Like it really
And
fine tunes your woodsmanship. And
and and without decoys. So the big thing with the way people hunt fields is they put decoys out, and you
right.
have to, because you've got so much area that he can see. That's his greatest tool, and he knows it.
Hmm.
But when you convince, so naturally the bird gobbles, the hens should go to the gobbler. So you're
Right.
already fighting nature. Well, then when you take away a visual for him to see, and you start tricking him, using terrain and his testosterone to make him make a mistake, you're really giving that bird just every advantage to really just walk away from you. He
Yeah.
shouldn't be making the choice that he's making.
So
So
you're playing head games with him, and
yes,
that's what's enjoyable.
the curiosity kills the cat, and that's what I say all the time is when you give them too much, when you talk to them too much, and they can really pin you down, they may climb a ridge across from you and look to see if they see a hen, and a lot of times they'll shut up and people are like, I don't know what happened.
Mhm.
Well, they're iridescent, hens are, and the reason that is so that when they're walking through the woods that never sit still, a gobbler can catch that glimmer, and he knows what it looks like. He knows it's a hint. So I've watched turkeys climb ridges, 300-400 yards away, and look to where I was calling from, shut up and walk off.
Right.
So, but yeah, that's when you really start taking away all of their advantages, I don't feel like you're playing an even game. And if that's what you enjoy, there's
Yeah.
nothing wrong with that.
Right.
Not everybody has the same amount of time off work, and maybe you like killing them that way.
Well,
But
and for me, for an example, a lot of these farms where I was hunting them there, I couldn't get after them in the woods because I just
right,
didn't have the lay of the land for the farm is just the field, and you got what you got. And them some bitches just go to the middle of the field, and it's
yeah,
like,
they know better.
they know better than to come over to the edge too. Trust me, because I've done it plenty of times and put a decoy out, and they're like, hell no,
Yeah,
like, and
yeah,
they'll just be dickheads. So I'm not trying to take anybody's steam away and say that you can't do this or you can't do that. My pure principle of doing this podcast with you today, Pope, was to just hopefully inspire some people to add a little bit of challenge to the game if they're not doing it, and really get to experience like what we've gotten to experience this year, because I can tell you it is so much more enjoyable and so much more of a reward when you get to kill one without using the decoy. And
Well, I
it's
think
just
too.
easier to hunt, I think, too. Like it's less stress on you carrying all that crap.
I think too. It starts to become a lot less about a kill shot and a lot more about the experience. It becomes that 30 seconds that hit between his last gobble and before you can see him, and your heart's right here,
Oh
and you're
yeah.
like, I hope I'm turning the right direction. I hope he
Yeah.
hits a gap. I hope he commits. Instead of, you see him coming, he runs into the decoys, and you're like, okay, I just got to get the shot off. You're giving him so many variables, and your mind is racing, and that's you stop chasing a kill and you start chasing a moment. It's that
Mm-hmm.
moment that like really hooks us turkey hunters, and it's hard for people to understand that. Like you really do start to chase the adrenals you feel in that moment.
100%. 100%, dude. That second bird this year, I know you could see the flame in me, man. I was so I worked. I think it's just the work that leads up to it too. You know what I mean? It ain't every day you're going to go out and kill a turkey like that.
Mm-mm.
And just I learned so much this year, man, just about setups and like where I should be setting up or when I should set up. Even more important.
And dude, you're
Um,
still, even to this day, dude. I set up wrong 3 times on
yeah,
birds that were screaming hot this year, and
yeah.
I wanted to punch myself. I mean,
Yeah, it is. It's like turkey season is one of them few things, man. You just get better and better as the season progresses, and it's like once you get that adrenaline rush, man, like the dump is just amazing. Like
dude,
this
and that's
year,
why
yeah,
it's such like a drug, because the
it is.
only time you feel fulfilled is when that dump happens,
Yeah.
and then it's like I got to
Well,
find it again.
well, and let's just take it back for a second. Like we dream about the moment in our head all the time. We're like, all right, I just need him to step. Every time I set up, I'm like, that's where I'm gonna kill him, or like, I got these lanes. I got all right, and then man, you dream that scenario up, and when it happens, it's like, oh yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and
But
that I relate it to a lot of people. Like deer is chess. It's a lot of forethought, and there's a lot of waiting for a moment to happen that you kind of had to predict prior to. Turkeys is a lot like checkers, where they make a move, you have to make a move quick. They make a move, and you have to think on your feet quick, and you're either
yeah,
right or wrong, and you're finna find out.
yeah, exactly, and that's what makes it so enjoyable because it's like it's never the same. Like it's similar, but it's never the same scenario, and it's always like, oh shit, where am I going to sit?
Yeah,
Like what am I? All right, like
every time.
when they fire off that close to you, man. But I want to talk some like tactics and stuff with you, man. Like where let's try to like paint a scenario of a morning hunt. Where a bird kind of roosts, in a area, but you weren't in there like the evening before to like, watch him fly up. What is your approach to that turkey? Going in the morning, let's say he's in a ridge system. Are you going to try to set up near his roost, or are you going to how close do you get to him?
So, like even the bird that I killed first day this year, I didn't want to be that close to him. I was just already there, like
Yeah.
because it never pans out for me. I feel like some people got the off the roost look, some people don't. I
Hmm.
don't, and I think it's just the way that I approach them. I give their eyes so much credit. It's never made sense to me that he's at 50 yards. It's getting daylight. He's about to pitch off, and I call to him. He can see there's not a hen there.
Yeah.
There's no reason for him to come look. So I've always strayed away from that, even though I've watched videos and had people tell me like, and I think it's just like hot 2 year olds that you have that are like bouncing
Oh
tree to
yeah.
tree, and
Hmm.
they're just like, screw it, I'm going to drop down,
Right.
which is fine. But I think I hunt every bird like it's an old bird. So what I try to do is I try to hang like 300 to 400 yards out, and I usually don't hit an owl call. I want, just like with deer, your whole goal is to go in and that animal have no idea that it's any different today than it was yesterday. Your goal is to be a ghost. And I think a lot of people in turkey hunting, they don't remember that. And they go in making all kinds of noises, and it's just not natural. They know something's not right.
Hmm.
Uh, so to me, the most natural scenario that I can have in my head is if he didn't roost with hens, he hits the ground, he starts gobbling. Maybe a hen was roosted a ridge over, and she's approaching him. And so usually, around that 8:30, 9 o'clock time, that's when I usually kill most of my birds. So I'll let him get on the ground, and I'll gauge his temperature then. And that's for two reasons. If he hits the ground and he don't want to talk, I'm going to leave and go find a different bird. I'm not too invested already.
Okay.
Uh, if he hits the ground and he's hot, I'm going to start feeding him a little bit.
Hmm.
And as I feed him a little bit, and I always say, this is one thing for people to really pay attention to. Don't heat him up before you're ready to kill him.
Okay.
And what I mean by that is you can call to him once and check him. But when you call to him 2 or 3 times, he knows where you're at and he's probably coming in. If you're not ready to kill him, you're about to be in a bad situation. He's
Yeah.
probably going to pop you.
Yeah.
So I usually let him kind of heat himself up, and I just ignore a call. Like I ain't even got a call in my mouth, and I start looking. I'm looking at Onyx, and I try to figure out like where he is and where I can pull him to. And I will be like, okay, I can make that work, and I get seated. And when I get seated, I start feeding him. And that was kind of what I did on the first bird this year. He hit the ground. He gobbled once. I called to him a little bit. He didn't gobble. He didn't respond. So I
Yeah.
just didn't say anything else. Well, when he gobbled the second time, I cut him off, and when I cut him off, he cut me off, and I was like, "All right, we're in there."
Done. Yeah.
And I think I called one more time, dude, and he was just,
Yeah. Yeah.
and
And that's
that
I
comes
picked
just
that up this year too. Like as far as when to not call. Like I blew it on one. I just called him way too. I got right in on his roost. We
right,
didn't call. I got like I'm like sub probably 60, 70 yards from this bird, and he's hammering. And I'm with a good friend, and he's like a phenomenal turkey caller and a hunter too. But he called too much to him that morning, and the bird pitched down. And I'm pretty certain he pitched down and went with another gobbler. They met up, and they were coming up. Like they were both answering us, no doubt.
right,
So I was like, all right, like let's cap it. And we let them do their thing. And we were like, man, like we heard him gobble what I thought was way down the holler. Right. And
right,
I'm like, all right, he's down there. We heard him fly down too. So I was like, all right, he's down. And I was set up just waiting for this thing, like, because I've hunted there before and I've done this, and usually they just come right up the trail and pop right into the field. And I
right,
was like, he's done. And man, he was coming. We went down there right on like the saddle before this like drop off, for the ridge. And dude, I was like, stop. I was like, just call right here, because I was like, if we go any farther, if he is there, he's gonna bust us. Dude, he just went like, I mean, he was 30 yards like all day. He was right
right,
freaking there. And
right,
he heard us scrambling, and that was it.
yeah,
The gig was up. And
yeah.
man, I was like, damn it. Like, oh, and he was the one, dude. He was the one
And
I've been
and
trying
you
to get.
probably
I'm like,
knew, like, I feel like every time that happens,
yeah.
when you're making those last couple steps, you're like, I know that I shouldn't be doing this.
Yes. We 100%. We both looked at each other after that, and we were like,
We knew better.
we should have sat there for at least a half hour. He
So
would have came
two,
moseying up, or he would have came around.
one of the other things I wanted to include with like the calling thing is a lot of people impress that, you shouldn't have to call a lot. And you shouldn't on some birds. And it gets to be like the longer you do it, the more you'll be able to judge
Yeah,
it.
break that
And
down for
so
me, man. How do you read a bird's temperature in those scenarios of which one that you shouldn't call much to and which one you should call to?
so basically, like, all right, if you call to one, he gobbles. And you'll start to be able to tell like a half-hearted gobble or a like I'm ready to breed now gobble. Let's say you call to him once, he gives you a half-hearted gobble. You call to him again, and he gives you two full like I'm coming gobbles. It should be done.
Can you
Now,
break down what a half-hearted gobble is? Is that like maybe he doesn't answer you right away,
no,
or
you can tell the volume difference. So people don't know this, but turkeys can control their volume. And so Dave Owens has actually talked about it a lot. And he posted something online, and it was like, is this turkey quiet because he's in a field and there's just no trees for it to bounce off, or is he actually quiet, or is he tamping down his gobble? And they do that. They tamp their gobble down because they know, hey, she should be able to see me. I shouldn't be having to scream.
yeah,
Uh, so they will control that volume, and so there's a difference in gobbling and like you're talking about when he's like, you
yeah,
can you can
oh
feel the
yeah,
difference,
no
and you'll
doubt.
and you'll start to know, and it just puts high intensity into the situation real quick.
Hmm.
And as the years go by, you start to kind of remember the kills that have happened, and start to define that in your mind what that means for you.
Yeah.
So an example, me and my buddy got the birds we doubled on this year. We started off on them. A bird got shot off the roost near us. He pitched down, and I'm pretty sure these two birds were with him. Well, they made a huge loop. They'd gobble every once in a while, and it got to be about 6:30, and everything went quiet. And I was like, I'm pretty sure they headed up towards the front of the property. Let's just sit here. And he hates sitting there.
Oh yeah.
He was like, dude, I'd rather go home than sit here. I was like, dude, just
What
wait.
time have they been flying down usually for you?
That it had been getting super early, so like right at like 6 o'clock, they had already like made their loop, and they were probably up front. The sun was starting to get up pretty good, so uh, I think we shot those birds at 7:45. So they probably flew down about 6 o'clock, something like that.
Okay.
So so nothing's happening. We're standing there, and about 45 minutes passes, and I was like, hey, let's start walking this way. And he was like, all right. So we're walking. And I'm thinking in my head, I'm like, man, let's get up there and let's get settled. And then we'll call to them and we'll figure out where they're at. But I don't want to let them know where we're at before we're ready. Again, talking about, don't heat them up before you're ready to kill him.
Yeah.
And as this thought is passing through my head, my buddy starts hitting the call and they hammer at 70 yards. I was like,
Oh.
fuck, fuck. Brother, why did you put me in this? So, like, I was like,
Yeah.
get down, get down.
Right.
So,
Right.
like, we're on a roadbed, and at the end of this roadbed is a green field. And we're like in small pines, but there's a dip. So, like, when we sit down, we can see over the dip. Like, it's like a perfect setup. We're in the shade, they can't see us. Well, I start heating them up once we got set up, and I would hear them walk into the roadbed, then come back into the green field, and I finally heard some hens. I was like, all right, there was some hens, but they
Hmm.
were gobbling too good. I was like, all right, Christian, this is what we're going to do. You start cutting, I start cutting. We're really about to lay it into them. I was
Yeah.
like, and I
Like
feel
you're a
like they're
couple
going to
hens
break.
just yeah
Yeah,
bitching at
just
each other. Yeah.
and we did that for probably 10 seconds. Just cha 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 cha, and the whole time I can hear them. It's three of them. I mean, they lost it.
Oh yeah.
Well, when we stopped, they gobbled one last time, and they were like 30 yards towards us in the roadbed. They left the hens, and I was like,
Hmm.
"Oh!" I was like, "You better get ready, dude." And like
Now,
his best,
yeah, I wanted to ask, like, how many times will you do that on your own and mouth call and pot call at the same time, or what? Like,
I
have you
usually
gotten in?
don't. So what I'll
Yeah.
do for myself is I'll just like if I really want to press on one, I just go super high volume. Like one of my
Okay.
buddies this year was like in one of my videos was like it sounded like your reeds were stuck together. They weren't stuck together. I was forcing so much air off of them, it was getting super high pitched.
Yeah.
And like when I like
Are you
there's a
cutting?
there's
We're
a
cutting real loud.
yeah, there's a dominance thing there where like I've killed a bird before. He walked a lane and he wouldn't come to me, and he dropped off in the bottom, and I got on the lane where he walked through, and I started really hitting him, just like cha 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 cha, yeah yeah yeah. And when I did, he turned around and walked right back to me. So there's also a dominance thing where I feel like once a hen hits a certain volume, he's like, oh, that's the boss hen,
Yeah.
and like I got to go back and get her.
Hmm.
Kind of the same deal. I felt like those two birds, they walked into the roadbed and it was like the prettiest I've ever seen, dude. I swear, I was like afraid to pull my camera out and set it up because I was like, as soon as I start dicking with this camera, dude, they're gonna turn that corner and see me.
Yeah.
So I'm like fighting in my mind. I'm like, dude, this is about to be badass. I should be filming this. Like Zach's gonna yell at me. You know what I mean? Like, but dude, it's too late. I'm like, we either
Uh-huh.
kill him or I screw it up. So
Yeah.
we're sitting there and they turn the corner. I'm like, Christian, I see him. The one in the front would pop in a strut and drum,
Uh-huh.
and he would come out. The one in the back would pop in a strut and drum.
Yeah.
And they did that probably 10 times just walking to us. And I'm like,
Yeah.
oh my God, dude, this is like shit you see on TV, dude.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? They have no
Yeah.
idea where we're at, which is perfect. Like they're not turning the corner and just taking a look and leaving. They're just coming.
No, they know they're close to you.
Right.
Yeah.
So, uh, I'm like, all right, Christian, which one do you want? Because I called a bird. We had set up different last year. I was in one area, he was in another. I called the bird off of him and killed him. So he was like, motherfucker, I'm shooting first this year. So I was like, which one do you want, dude? And he was like, let's just shoot into him. And I was like, fuck no, dude.
Yeah.
I was like, dude, I'm shooting a softball at 20. Like, I was like, look, you see the one that just come out strut, the one on the right? I said, you shoot him, I'll shoot the bird in the back. So he counted off. He said 3, 2, 1, and I let him crack first, and I shot. Super funny because the guys on the property over, I didn't know I knew them. I was pulling out of that property one day, and they were like, "Yeah, we watched two guys shoot some birds on opening day." I was like, "Yeah, that was me." He was like, "Damn, if I knew that was you, pup, I wouldn't have cussed so bad." but so we nailed them, and but that's a really good example of sometimes you do lay into those
Yeah.
birds,
Yeah.
but a lot of people are so afraid to play with tone and volume because a lot of these old timers and some of these other guys are like, you shouldn't have to call a lot. You call a little bit, and
And it does, man. It gets in your head hardcore as a newbie turkey hunter and somebody that really does use YouTube or has taught me a lot. That's all you hear, and that's all they drill in your. You don't call much. Don't call. Just only soft call. It's like, I didn't get to learn that until last year. I had a good buddy of mine, Mike Campbell. He lives in Virginia, and this dude, like, he was like a turkey murderer, man. I mean, he
right,
he grew up doing it. I mean, he would pick out one bird and name him and kill him. Like, he was all about just only killing this one old bird. He had all kinds of them named, and dude, the pictures he take were phenomenal. All his birds were giant hook birds.
right,
But he had a great property, and I was like, "Look, Mike, you want to come for a trip and like come to Kentucky?" I was like, "What do you want to do? You want to deer hunt? You want to, He's like, "I want a turkey hunt." I'm like, "All right, sweet." I was like, "I would love to just tag along, dude, and I won't call. I just want to learn from you."
right,
So, man, we got together, and it was a game changer for me. And
right.
I still learned a ton this year, but just getting to watch him, like, and I was like, damn, like, you're calling a lot. He's like, I am calling a lot right now. I was like, yeah. I was like, but dude, every bird in the country is just pow, pow, pow,
Yeah,
pow. And I'm
yeah.
like, holy shit. Like,
And
dude, I
it
never even knew there were that many turkeys around. He's like, dude, y'all got a lot of birds. And I was like, and we had, in my definition, probably the most epic 4 or 5 days of turkey hunting I've ever had.
right.
It
And
was wild.
it's one of those things I would urge people. I think the learning moment comes is I think when a bird hangs up on a lot of people, they're afraid to give him enough, and they give him the same thing that he's been giving him, and he wants to commit, and he's telling you he wants to commit, but you've got to convince him. And that's whenever you have a bird hang up on you and you know he's hung, don't be afraid to get loud and nasty on him.
Yeah.
Because if there's not a hen in the situation, you're either going to make him or break him. If you don't give him enough, he's leaving anyway. So you
Yeah.
better damn try to give him enough. And that's when you'll start to see it. You're like, damn, that bird, I heated him up and he came right in. Now, not every one of them's going to do it. Uh, but there will be a lot more birds that you'll kill out of like, okay, you're putting that dominance into them, and they're like, okay, I've got to get there, and I've got to get there quick.
Yeah. Why don't you like walk me through like how you'll get aggressive with a bird like that, and then when do you turn it off?
Okay,
What's he do to
so
tell you like, all right, he's coming, and like that's it, it's like time to just shut up.
this year, uh, I'll give you an even better example. I think I had the best display of turkey hunting ability that I've ever had. And it was 2 years ago, 3 years ago. So the property I start out on, the one I killed the bird on the first day this year, they usually don't gobble on the roost there. I don't know why. I don't know. But I've learned not to panic about it. Just sit and wait. And if you can get in his bubble or strike him, he'll usually gobble about like 7 o'clock, something like that. So that's what happened. I was walking the roadbed, and I was hitting my box, and I struck him. Well, he gave me kind of a half-hearted gobble. So I was like, I'm not going to go down there to him. I'm going to turn around and walk away.
Mm-hmm.
So when I turned around, I walked probably 300, 400 yards, hit my box again. It was about 30 seconds goes by, and he gobbles where I was.
Yep.
Now, he would not have done that if I was still there.
No.
He just knew, he's
He knew you
playing the
were
game.
leaving. Yeah.
Yep. So I dropped into the holler 300 or 400 yards away from him. Hit the box again. When I did, he drops into the holler and he gobbles. But he's not gobbling hard yet. So I was like, okay.
He's
So
following you.
I
Yeah.
heard him. He gobbled back on the roadbed. So I backed back out, put my mouth call in. I yanked it on the mouth call. And when I did, he dropped back in the bottom and he started gobbling real good, like hard. I was
Mm-hmm.
like, all right, I'm heating him up. So I went back down into the bottom and I had heard him. He gobbled back on the roadbed. So I cut at him again and he was one finger closer this time. He came back down and he's really ripping it. Like, he's like, all right, where you at? Where you at?
Yeah.
And as this is happening and you've been there now, you're like, it's getting to the point in the scenario where I'm going to have to make something happen or he's going to get weirded out.
Uh-huh.
So I knew. So I was like, I've got like a couple more moves to make and I've got to kill this turkey. So he goes back up to the roadbed again and hammers. So I like scurry around, get set up in these bushes. I was like, I think if I can bring him across to the top of the next finger, I can kill him. So I hit him with a call again and he drops back in. But he's where I need him to be, but he gets in the middle of 3 trees just like this. Like, he's in the dead, like you can't
Uh-huh.
get a shot at him and
Yeah.
just sitting there strutting and spinning. And I was like, what the
You
fuck, dude?
dickhead.
Like, he knew what he was doing. He
Oh
had
yeah.
strutted there 100 times. You could just tell by the way he was doing it. And I was like, oh, you dick. And I was like, what do I do? What do
Yeah.
I do? He's about to get weirded out. So I just leaned back and I was like, the only thing I think I can do is try to throw my call like I'm back up
Yeah.
where I was.
Yeah.
So I just leaned my head back and just chop, 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 chop. And when I did that, he broke strut and walked right out in front of those 3 trees. And he was probably about 38, 42 yards somewhere in there, but it was the only shot I was going to get. So as
Yeah.
soon as he broke straight, I laid his ass down.
Hell yeah.
And I was like, and this whole scenario took me about an hour and a half. And it's
Right.
not a lot that you get to really interact with a turkey that much in
No,
that
not very
length of
often.
time. So
I yeah.
that was why I was like, that was the best show of turkey hunting ability I've ever had.
I'm super stoked that you said that. So last year I was tagged out and I was messing with this bird over here at the house, right?
Right,
It was in the morning. He's gobbling. I'm like, I can't help myself. Like, I got to go mess with him.
right.
So I go to him. I'd call one time on the driveway. He gobbles, like you said, half hearted. I go up towards him, call. Oh, he's hot. He was like, oh, double gobbled at me. I'm like, oh yeah, I got you. So I go back, dude. I cut around, get it, and there's a nice little lay of pines in between us, like thick, like cedar pines, where you can't just bust through, right?
Right.
I get on the other side. He's like, oh, God. Oh, he gobbled like 20 times, dude. Just, bitch, where are you at?
Yeah, like, why are you
Like, get
leaving?
your
Yeah.
ass over here, right? And oh man, like, so I just carried him all over the place, and I learned so much that morning. Number one, I just didn't give a shit. I was just like, all right,
Playing with him.
I'm like, let me see what I can do, and let me see like how I can bust this turkey. I could have killed him easily, dude.
Right.
I brought him right out the lane, right where I knew he was going to come out, and I was like, freaking done deal, And if I was with a buddy, I'd have been like, you sit right here, he's going to come out 10 yards, bam, done.
And
But
that's one of those scenarios where I think as a as a newer turkey hunter, even when you have 6, 7 birds under you, don't feel so pressured to kill that you don't learn.
Yeah.
And that's exactly like with you in that scenario. You're like, I don't really give a shit. I don't got a gun. It's not like I can kill him. And you
Right.
learn something out of it.
Hmm.
And so that's why I'm like, learn to play with your volume. If you lose a bird because you did something wrong, you're going to learn what you did wrong. But if you kill him because you did something right, you've now learned how to do something right
Right.
instead of doing the same thing in the woods every single time. And you
Yeah.
might kill one bird a year, and you're like, I don't believe that other people are killing 4 or 5. They're poaching or this or
Yeah.
that. There's a
Yeah.
difference in guys. I'm telling you, and
Oh
it's
yeah.
because they figured out. Like there was months like where I didn't see Kinsey for 45 days straight when I was 18, 19, because
Yeah.
I'm just trying to put myself in that scenario over and over again to learn and learn
Oh
and
yeah.
learn and learn. And you're gonna mess up 70% of them, but if you're killing 30% of them, you've had a damn good year, dude.
Amen. No, I agree with you, buddy. It hooks you, and you're really lucky to grow up, or live really in an area where you can pursue four birds.
Yes.
Like
It
with us,
used to be 5.
oh yeah, yeah. I remember you saying that. I think like last year you were like, so, what is obviously is Alabama your favorite state to hunt? I mean, like, do you travel much to turkey hunt?
I haven't. And so there was a point in time where deer were really kicking my ass. And I
Yeah.
was like, you know what? I'm going to quit deer hunting and I'm just going to turkey hunt and I'm going to travel. I'm just going to not do anything until spring and travel and turkey hunt.
Hmm.
And I didn't even make it like to a week before deer season, bought all my shit back. And I'm like, I'm deer hunting.
I hate to say it this way, but I think turkey hunting takes way more out of you than deer hunting does.
In some
It,
ways, it
it
does.
mentally, physically, like just the grind of like if you're actually able to chase birds day after day, and like these guys from Virginia, man, we were hunting them in the mornings and we were hunting them in the evenings, and that's a lot of time.
Yes,
And to touch on that, can you hunt them in the afternoons in
yes,
Bama?
on private. You used to
Okay.
be able to hunt them in the afternoon on public,
Do
and I
you
think in
like that
national.
or no?
Yes.
Yeah.
And the reason being, I had a guy call me this year, and he was like, "Man, I've seen you killed some birds in the afternoon." He was like, "But like, do you like hunting in the afternoon?" I said, "Let me tell you something, dude." I said, "If you can get one hot in the afternoon, you'll kill them in under a minute."
Yeah.
And so he went out the next day. He was like, "Dude, I struck him. He was on a ridge top. I was at the bottom." I called to him again and I heard wings and I look up and he was pitching to me. He said he dropped 30 yards in front of me and I shot him. He was like,
No kidding.
crazy as shit, yeah.
Hell
And he
yeah.
was
That's
like,
awesome.
and dude, like I've killed birds where I killed that first bird this year. I've killed birds in the afternoon, like 30-second done deal, gobbling their head off once I
Yeah.
struck them.
Uh huh.
Last year opening day, I missed one, and then I found one at 4:30 in the afternoon. It was two of them, and dude, I made them crawl through mountain laurel. It shocked me. I was like, when I struck them, I was like, there's no way they're coming through this. So I was on private, they're on public. The public's not open yet. I was like, they're where they are, dude. There's nothing I can do with them. And I checked them again, and they're at like 60 yards crawling through that mountain laurel. I was like, oh my
Oh
God.
wow. No kidding.
Yeah, I'll send you the video. It's crazy what he got shot in. Like
Yeah.
it is literally like if you think of where a big buck would bed and live to be away from people, that's where I shot him.
That's where it was. Yeah.
Like,
That's wild. Just saying like a
yeah,
briar patch kind of.
yeah, super high
Yeah.
stem count, like
Yeah.
ridiculous, dude.
That's wild, man.
But I think it's a double edged sword, man. I think if you have one property, you don't need to pressure it too much. Like if you have one
Yeah.
property and you don't have a lot of birds, maybe your first one, if you want to knock him out of the way, you can hunt him that first morning and afternoon. Where afternoons and a lot of this comes in, I have access to a lot of properties. So it's just like bouncing states. The idea behind bouncing states is you're always going into fresh birds that haven't been hunted. You're
Right.
always, getting the peak. So
Mm-hmm.
same thing with properties that haven't been hunted, and why I lease some properties. I have permission of some properties, and there's certain places I go opening day because I'm not going to kill more than one bird off of it. And I have my other pieces that are larger that I know that I can kind of make moves around, and I can run into birds that hadn't
Yeah.
been messed with yet. You always try to situate yourself into the freshest bird you can,
Mm-hmm. I agree
and
with you.
that helps you out.
Yeah, having multiple properties, that's always been one of my goals. I don't like to take more than one bird off each property. I mean, maybe two, depending on what the the crop is that year. But generally I've learned like you got about 4 or 5 times on each farm. And if you take
It
one of
gets
the older
tough.
times out of there, man, like you're
They're
doing them a
vocal.
justice. Yeah.
They're
Yeah.
they're vocal. So like the next morning, they're waking up. They're like, "We heard a bang, and now Charlie isn't gobbling. There's something weird going on too."
Uh-huh.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like it don't take them much. They know something's
Oh,
happening.
absolutely. I firmly believe that them turkeys know every turkey in there, right? I
Yeah, they
mean,
do.
yeah. One of the things I wanted to ask you, Pope, was, you know, can you prioritize whether you would call a bird in a bottom or on top of a ridge, and why?
Mm.
Because like
So there's
I've tried to figure that out. Like, and I kind of like those little saddle systems,
yes,
but I've also killed my biggest bird in a bottom.
yep.
So I mean, I just I've had a lot of them get hung up, on like upper ridges and stuff. And I was just curious, I feel like you've got more experience hunting like hill country turkeys than I do.
So they say the old adage is that you don't leave a creek, a fence, or try to call them back uphill. That turkeys would rather come downhill than they would up. They're
Okay.
not going to pitch a creek, and this is where your detail and calling and your ability to control volume can really convince a bird to do something stupid. Uh, so I would rather be in the bottom under them and make them come down than I would to be try to bring them back up unless it's midday.
What if they're up top, roosting? I mean, generally they're going to be up top.
Correct.
Let's say you're on like a finger ridge and they're roosting over here and there's like a nice little, call it like a grass trail or something like that that leads out into a field or wherever, and the birds just naturally like to travel like that. Would you set up on that road?
Yeah,
Okay.
so if you think about it, so like let's say that they're roosting 3/4 and like on 3/4 ridge, and there's actually a knob or like a finger that comes down right beside them. They're going to pitch that flat before they're going to pitch to the slant of the ridge. So
Hmm.
same thing in the morning. If they're roosting 3/4 ridge top, and you can get up there around them behind them, they're going to pitch onto that flat before they fly down into the bottom.
Yeah.
Now, are they eventually going to work in that bottom? Yeah, they need water. They can't get water at night. That's the first thing that they want is water, but they
Right.
will prioritize breeding over that. So if it's nice and cool that morning, dewy, they're not getting real hot. Let's say it's in the 40s, 50s. They might sit up there and strut on that top and gobble and call hens until 10 o'clock when they really need water. As it gets hot, they may go straight into pitching those bottoms and getting water as fast as they can.
Okay.
Uh, but once he's on the ground, let's say he's already on the ground, and you walk in and you're in the bottom and he's on the ridge top and it's thick enough. Now, let's say it's early season hardwoods and he's up top. You've heard him, you hadn't
Yeah.
called to him.
Not much foliage on the trees. Right.
What I have done before is get like 3/4 ridge, try to be as quiet as you can, and then call to him and go ahead and set up looking up and go ahead and call to him because he's going to pop his head over and look and you shoot him off the top of that ridge. You're using
Okay.
terrain. It's the same
Yeah.
way. You're just setting up
Right.
because he may not come down, and it even may you kind of have to be ready in that situation because when you walk, he might think you're scratching,
Hmm.
and he might peek his head over, and you need to shoot him then too.
Yeah.
But once they're on the ground until midday. It's usually easier to bring them in the bottom than it is up top. Now,
Okay.
I say until midday. When they leave hens, their idea and why they roost in these big ridge systems is they want to send that gobble as far as they can. So they would rather not sit in the bottom and gobble if they don't have any hens. They're going to want to get up high and let every hen know, hey, I'm looking.
Yeah.
So that's why usually around midday, I like if it's like 10 o'clock, I'm trying to go up. I'm
Hmm.
trying to go up and get ahead of them.
Right. Yeah. No, man, I couldn't agree more. I've never really had it explained that way, and I always took for granted the water aspect because I've had friends tell me that like water's not a big deal for turkeys. A lot of times in the spring, they'll drink the dew off the grass and stuff
And
like
they
that.
will some.
Yeah. But I mean, I learned it firsthand this year. The one old time that I spent many days running around the woods trying to kill. I figured him out. He would pitch down in the bottom, and then he
Yep.
would work his way back up. And I'd set up trying to ambush him one day, and I didn't have enough time to sit there until I needed to. But
Right.
yeah, he ended up getting killed. I sent I sent a buddy in there after him, and another guy trespassed and came in there and shot the bird right where I told my buddy to set up. I'm like, yeah,
Right.
that sounds about
Well,
right.
and two, another thing with the creeks, this is where you got to know turkeys, know your property, know what they're doing. They got to have stones for their crawl to grind up their food.
Right.
So let's
So
say
streams are
only
perfect.
stones,
Yeah.
they might go to streams. Now, if you've
Mhm.
got road beds in the afternoons, that's where you'll kill them. You
Right.
know, if you can get in there, they might not be talking. If you're already on that road bed, if you strike them, they're probably on that road bed with you
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
that's one of the things they're going to do late afternoon before they fly up. They're trying to grind up all that food they ate for the day.
Hmm. You know, I meant to ask you this earlier. In the mornings, a lot of times, are you one of those guys that likes to go and sit down in the morning, or will you like get to a vantage point and just hang out
It
like
it
at
depends
gray
on
light?
the property. So
Yeah.
I actually don't scout turkeys any, and I know
Okay.
that sounds crazy. Like I might ride around and go listen prior to season, but I've done it for so long now. Like I used to mark 50, 60, 70 birds before season would even start. And I did that for 10 years. So I know where birds are and where birds aren't
Yeah.
generally.
This year was the
So
first year I didn't scout for them either because I'm like
right.
they're there.
You know
Yeah.
where they're at.
Right. Yeah.
So, and it's a lot of fun for me to go in and not know exactly where they're going to be at. And now I've got to make a game plan on the spot. That's turkey hunting to me.
Yeah.
And maybe that's not everybody, but that's why I'm like, okay, like,
And
that's
I
the fun.
noticed a lot of my buddies that aren't like I don't want to bloat and act like I'm a skilled turkey hunter, but a lot of my other buddies that are killing a lot of them in ground blinds and such, they'll use trail cameras and cell cameras, and it's like, man, like it almost like takes the fun out of it because it's like, all right, you got a blind there, you got a cell cam there, the bird's there at this time, like. Where's the enjoyment of like the unknown? Like
Right.
there is
Well,
none.
with deer, you got to find them before you can hunt him. You know
Yeah,
what I mean? And he may or may not give you sign, but he
right.
sure ain't gonna gobble at you. But
No,
turkeys tell you they're there. You know what
exactly,
I mean? So
exactly.
it's,
Yeah,
do you really need it? Now some
yeah.
people just want to get amped up and know they're gonna have a good season and whatever.
No,
But
absolutely.
I love, I love working off my feet. And
Yeah,
dude, if I didn't work off my feet, I'd probably kill a lot more birds. I probably would kill birds a lot quicker.
yeah,
But that's just it for me. I've gotten to the age now too where it's like, dude, if I kill 3 a year, if I kill 2 a year, as long as I do it right and it's the bird does it right for me, I'm happy.
absolutely, man. No, and I mean, being where you're at now, and doing this for years, like, where's your mindset on the camaraderie? Like, are you? I had to learn this the hard way. I went with a buddy. I'm not going to say when or what or anything like that, but I was very disappointed when I went hunting with him, and he just moving way too much. And I was like, man, I can understand why some of my older buddies are like, I don't turkey hunt with anyone,
Yeah,
because it's
and
such a
there's
prized time. And it's like, we only get,
so
here
many
in
of them.
Kentucky, we only get so many weekends. It's like,
Yep. And that used to be a lot more pressing on me. Like I've had a lot of people be like, "Hey man, you want to come hunt? You want to come hunt?" And I'll be like, "No, like I
yeah.
don't. Like I know what I'm doing. I need to
And
be
once you're
alone. I
good
need to
at it,
do it by
it is
myself."
one of those things that a lot of people are like, hey, can you take me hunting? Hey, can you,
Right.
and I love that. Don't get me wrong. And like, I love it with some of my buddies. It's a blast. But then like, man, when you go with like people that you've never hunted with ever, you can really get pissed off and like, it'll put you in a bad spot. Like, you know what I mean?
I think it would be the same to me as like, let's say going into it, you have to pick somebody that stylistically aligns with you and knows what the wind's going to do and be able to kind of handle themselves in this situation. And that's kind of feel how I feel about like turkey hunting. It's not necessarily that I have to vet you, but I have to trust you to understand. You've either got to make the decision in the moment to lay back and let me handle it and let us get us in the situation, or I know that you're not going to lead us into a bad situation yourself.
right. Like not cresting hills and stuff like that.
Right, just not doing, and it's different if you go in knowing like, hey, my buddy's never turkey hunted. You
And
just kind of
yeah, the
you
woodsmanship
kind of
plays
tell it.
into, yeah, you can really get to tell like how much of a woodsman somebody is when you go with them turkey hunting the first time. Like, how do you walk in the woods? Like, there's
Well,
all this
and
little stuff that we take for granted, dude, that like you don't even think about. That's just second nature to you, that you don't, you do it so much. It's like, until you go with somebody that doesn't do what you're doing, you're like, oh my God, man. Like, all right, pick
Well,
your feet up. Like,
and that's one for me too. Like I'm not really quiet when I'm turkey hunt. Like especially when
okay.
I walk through, I'll try to avoid breaking branches and stuff. But I've also like ran through cutovers and broke sticks and set up on a bird. I think I just didn't know so much when I first started doing it. I just figured out what would bother them and what wouldn't bother them.
Okay.
And so a lot of people would hunt with me and be like, "What the fuck are you doing, dude?" And I'd be like, "Dude, that they don't give a shit about that. Like, come the fuck on, dude." You know what I
Yeah.
mean? While
I
everybody else
got
is
you.
like,
Yeah.
so when a bird's super hot, he will ignore a lot of shit that a bird that is kind of on edge won't.
Yeah.
And it comes to like, all right, like we need to get there and kill that bird now. I don't give
Now.
a shit about these sticks breaking. Come on,
Yeah.
like
Right.
he's gonna
Right.
die, dude. You know.
Yeah. Yeah.
So there's some give and take there too, but it's just like you're saying, like if I'm taking somebody that's never now, let's say this. I'm about to start taking indie turkey hunting.
Okay.
I think Youth Day next year is the day. Now she's 4. She's going to be 4 years old. I know that this is going to be a lot. I don't know how it's going to go. I know that I'm probably going to use a blind. I don't.
Yeah. I would
You
suggest
know,
it. Yeah.
right? Like
And that's a total different scenario. I mean, I took mine. She's 5 this year, and dude, we had a blast. My biggest advice as a father to tell you: have zero expectations and
right,
try to put her in an area where she can hear a turkey. You
right,
know, and let her
and
use the
that's
calls and let her do your face paint or whatever you do.
right,
And I mean, that's what it's really about, like making them
and it
memories.
is.
You know.
And that was always my thing. Like with Indian deer hunting, I always kind of, I never wanted to burn her out because like down here, it's just not like you see a good deer every day. So my thoughts were always, I'm gonna nail a big deer down where I know that it's about time. The weather's right, everything's right. Like I was gonna go in and try to kill him myself,
Hmm.
and I'm not even gonna let Indy deer hunt before that, and I'm gonna bring her in and set her in a stand,
Yeah.
and I'm like, today's the day.
Yeah.
And I've thought about that a bunch, and maybe that's too much. She may hate hunting. As you have kids and it goes along,
Oh,
uh,
dude, and they
you
change
know,
so much. I
yeah,
mean, I've got 2
yeah,
daughters, and God bless. I mean, my oldest is like, you know, 10 going on freaking 16. Okay, right now. She
right,
used to be my little hillbilly, man. Like, we go fishing all the time. She pick up snakes. She always go shed hunting with me, no matter what. Like, I drug her everywhere with me. And now she's just like this totally different person. And I'm like,
right, right.
well, there goes that. There goes a host of that. But no, and I'm the same way, dude. I don't ever want to pressure him into doing something. But the fact of the matter is, brother, just to take them,
Yeah,
and I would say don't take them to a high odd spot. Go take her on like somewhere where maybe you can go like muzzleloader or rifle even and go shoot a doe with her and let her experience
right,
that.
right,
My oldest had a blast this year. We went and did a ground and pound with the muzzleloader, and we had all kinds of deer around us. I ended up
right,
shooting a doe, and she was absolutely stoked, dude. And I was like,
right.
heck yeah! And it was just a fun hunt. Like, she busted
Well,
out a full bag of Doritos while we're sitting there. I'm like, oh my god, no! Like, you know,
so I've I've
but
taken
that's
my
what it's
wife.
about.
I've taken my wife hunting twice, and it was negative for her both times. So we went bow hunting one time. She had a doe at like 8 yards. Well, the doe's facing us. She's at full draw, and I'm like, "Don't shoot till she turns.
Uh,
Don't shoot till she turns." So she sat at full draw for like 45 seconds, and the deer finally just made the move and went in the woods. And I was like, in a pine thicket, and I was like, "Damn it!" And she was like, "I should have just shot her." All right, so she was upset then.
yeah,
So I take her turkey hunting like the next year. It was a little wet. It had rained the night before. Birds didn't really gobble, but I heard them fly down. And I was like, okay, well, I'm on a super big tree. She's on a tree. And dude, I'm a little soft like calling. And about an hour goes by. I was like, hey, let's get up and go check this field and see if these birds are in this field. So I stand up, I look around. I'm like, all right, you're good. She stands up. Bird was 30 yards behind her. She'd been strutting behind us for probably like 5 minutes, dude. I had no idea. Bird flies off, and she was like, I'm never going hunting with you again, dude. Like, you suck. I was like, dude.
I was not expecting that.
Yeah,
Oh
he was
man,
like, I hate you, dude. Well, a guy, the spot we were going to, another guy. had texted me as he was coming in, and he went there, and he had shot like 5 minutes before this happened. So she was like, "I hate you."
Yeah. Oh man. Man, we're approaching on doing this for an hour now, and I wanted to try to keep this one like just action packed with some good stories and tech talk and whatnot. But man, what's one of your biggest pieces of advice to guys that have maybe killed a couple turkeys and they? What's your biggest piece of advice to somebody like that? Maybe to make turkey hunting more enjoyable, or like maybe even for a beginner, like what's a great like lesson that that's
So
applicable for
I have a
newer guys?
buddy. I have a buddy that's killed like 5 or 6 birds, and he's always been around us, like on some of our properties. We haven't been directly with him, but he kind of got in his head, like, yeah, I know how this goes. Well, what happened was they got in a situation with a couple of older birds, and they called me, and they were like, "Man, when I call this bird, he just walks away. What am I doing? Like, what do I do? Like, why is this happening? He's supposed to be coming to me." I'm like, "No, not really. That's actually how nature's supposed to work. You're supposed to go to him, So, I think the biggest piece of advice that I can give you is that learn when to walk away from a turkey. Don't don't waste your season on a bird that doesn't want to play the game. Yes, killing big birds is nice. I kill a bunch of 2-year-olds, and I'll keep killing a bunch of 2-year-olds, because when that 4-year-old bird locks up and he gobbles for about 5 minutes from the same spot and he wants me to come, I'm putting my gun over my shoulder and I'm going like a mile that way, buddy. I'm about to
Yeah.
find me one to kill, dude.
Uh-huh. No, you're absolutely right, dude. I could not agree more with that. But I mean, to touch on that, do you feel like when you're in a situation and you're about to walk away from a bird, will you sit there and kind of like listen to him and like build that Rolodex of knowledge on that turkey? Like, cause
Yeah, and
that really helped me this year. And I felt accomplished, even though my friend, that bird was cut off from him. That bird was killed exactly where I told him to set up. And I was
right.
like, here's what he's doing. And here's what I've experienced. And I know he's a pressure bird. So number one, don't call to him much at all. Let him know you're there and just shut up. And naturally he should come right down in there anyway.
So rarely do I hunt a bird more than a day in a row. Like,
Okay.
actually, it happened to me 3 days in a row, and I was mad at myself this year because I actually thought it was a different bird than the bird I knew it was. And
Yeah.
it's because I know how those birds work. And there's a day a year. Those big birds like that, there's a day, and it's usually early, that you can call them in and you can get them to work. And if you play your cards right and you set up right, like this year, I had one of them coming, and he got to 40 yards, and there was just a small little dip between two fingers, and I got overconfident, and I was like, I'm gonna sit down and I'm gonna pull him, up to this 3/4. He's gonna come up, he's gonna try to get in that road bed. And had I not called anymore, because I was on the other side of the road bed when he was coming to me,
Mm-hmm.
he would have walked through and tried to get to that road bed. But I got overconfident, and when he got to about 70, I started calling. Well, when he got that finger in that bottom, that little hole, he locked up in it. And that was it. And I could not see him. I could not do anything with. He knew. He knew. He was like, I should see her. She should be coming to me. And had I played it a little different, had I shut up and set up where I set up and never called again, he would have tried to walk right through me to get where he could see
Yeah.
in the moment. And now that bird is the bird they called me about. I was like, why is he walking away from us? Yeah, because he knows he's old,
Yeah.
and it was his day to die, and now he knows something's not right.
Mm-hmm.
So usually, if you have a shot at those older birds, you can usually get them dead like the first couple days.
Yeah.
If you end up messing with them a bunch, it just boogers them up. They
Yeah.
they know better. So
Oh
that's
man.
why I try not to hunt a turkey more than a day in a row, because when you're walking into some of the places I'm walking in, especially on public, you don't know if that turkey's been called to or not. So he's either gonna play today or I'm gonna find a different bird. Like,
Mm-hmm.
it's just, I don't want to
Yeah.
waste time.
Yeah, and it's even more predictable on farms. I feel like that I've learned over the years of hunting, multiple farms. It's like, man, you finally figure out after you've been going through a season for, let's say call it 4 or 5 hunts on the same farm. You know where a bird's roosted at in the morning. You can
Yeah,
pretty much kind of get a good gist for where he's roosting at, like just by going in there and looking around and finding, poop on the ground or whatever. And for me, I picked up, it's a great way for you if you're in the latter part of the season to go and make that move in the afternoon and go wait him out in that roost location.
Yeah.
And
And
that's,
even midday, even
yeah,
you can even sit on it midday, do a little light calling. And usually they pass back to that by that roost midday.
yeah,
And it's the same thing. I just don't hunt that way. Like
right.
in my mind, the more I know about his pattern, the more I'm deer hunting him. I just
Hmm.
want to call him and kill him. So
Okay.
like that's why I'm like, this is getting too much for me. I'm going
Yeah.
somewhere
Yeah.
else. You know what I mean?
I found myself thinking that a lot this year. I was like, I'm going to go and set up on him like a deer, and it's like,
Now, when you get to the end of the season, like let's say you got a tag left. Sometimes you ain't got a choice. You're out of birds. He's the only one talking. You
hmm,
spend a couple days on him. You do what you got to do. It is what it is. He's talking. You're still in the game. It's the moment. But I try to avoid it as much as I can because a lot of times those big birds are so confident in themselves. That's the bird that whether it's rain, shine, hurricane, he's gonna be sitting there hammering
yeah,
because he's like, yeah, I'll tell you where I'm at, but I know I'm not coming to you. You know what I mean?
yeah. Yeah, I love it, man. Dude, I could sit here and talk to you for a whole another hour or so. Honestly, I love this. I'm even more fired up. I'm going to hunt in Indiana in the morning.
In
Try
the
to
morning.
try to fill my first out of state turkey tag, which I'm super stoked about.
Well,
Um,
and I can tell you personally, from 2 years ago to now, you're starting to see the way it all works.
yeah,
Like even to the point of like we went to a property this year. There was birds roosting on three different ridges off of the property. My buddy's like, "Dang it, they usually roost on us." And I was like, "Don't worry about it, because they've got to move and they're not going to stay where they're at. This
yeah,
is the only ridge without a turkey. They're coming."
hmm,
And so you just start picking up on things like that. I bet money you kill a bird in the morning.
yeah. We'll see, man. I've never been there. I've been like around the area, but I'm just excited. My confidence is up. I feel like we'll see. Either I'm gonna eat some humble pie or I'm gonna kill me a turkey in the morning. But
I think you'll kill a turkey, dude.
I think so. I think I'm pretty excited to get after it, man. I got three rapid fire questions, and then we're gonna end this. All right. What is your favorite call?
My favorite call is a mouth call,
Mouth call.
specifically the Papa Smurf from Cartel Custom Calls.
Okay. Second, who is your favorite turkey hunter that you look up to?
It bounces between Shane Simpson and Dave Owens.
Okay. Three, what is the number one species of turkey you wish you could hunt, like other than the Eastern? Like, what would be your bucket list?
Osceola.
Osceola. Why?
Just swamp birds, dude. Hard to
Really?
kill. I think they're just as hard as Easterns. They
Okay.
still got that good hard gobble, sharp hooks, big long
Oh,
hooks.
they do. They got the hooks. I don't know. For me, honestly, I've always wanted to kill like a Miriam or a Rio. Aren't the Rios the ones with the real white in them? Real heavy white?
Yeah, and I want to kill one. Don't get me wrong, but I feel like those are the birds. It's like, yeah, we're going to kill them, and as long as we're in them, we know we're going to kill
Yeah, yeah, I agree with you there. I don't know. I mean, as far as like a beautiful bird, I think they are like the most pretty. And it would
them.
just be cool to hunt a turkey out and like get to see that many birds. I mean, that would
It
just be an
is,
experience.
but I've been to
But
Florida and lost like miserably. So now it's like that's the one.
they got you in the blood hunt.
Yeah,
What,
yeah,
dude?
they
It's
got me.
freaking god awful expensive, man, to hunt there now. Don't
Dude.
you? Do you have to have a guide?
No, no, you can
Okay,
hunt in Florida like hunt on public. It's still $500 for two
dude.
birds.
Screw
But
that
dude,
shit, brother. I'm not down with the snakes. I'm not down
baby,
with panthers. I mean,
look,
I would love to kill an Osceola, but sitting down and worrying about like all them snakes, I just don't. I've had a black snake crawl across my lap, and I cannot imagine a fucking python. I'm sorry.
dude.
I would lose my shit, bro.
So real quick, I'll tell this real short.
All right.
I've been the time I went to Florida. My buddy called me and was like, "Hey, Florida opens tomorrow." And I was like, "Yeah." He was like, "I'm like 8 minutes from your house." And I was
Yeah.
like, "All right." Me and my wife were arguing. I was like, "He was like, get your shit ready." So like, I didn't even tell my wife.
Oh my
Like
god.
I just left, dude. I just left. We had no idea where we were going. We stopped at a Buffalo Wild Wings, ate, found a WMA, bought tents at Walmart, and we camped in the swamp. We woke up. We woke up 100 yards from an alligator. We got surrounded by hogs in the middle of the night. It was just a wild experience, dude. Heard
Damn.
one turkey the whole time.
Yeah. No thanks, man. I don't know. Yeah, that one's for you, buddy. They're going to be the last on my list if I'm trying to do a slam. I'm going to be honest with you. I mean, I would love to kill a big hook bird like that. Don't get me wrong, but I got a couple other ones, especially me moving towards the Midwest. I'm like,
Right, you're going to be in them.
yeah, absolutely. I can't wait to kill a 30-pounder, man. I know them birds in Iowa are giant. So,
Right.
well, buddy, hey, I can't thank you enough for sitting on here and BSing with me for the past hour. Guys, I'm sure if you don't know, Kaylan is also the owner of Arrows Anonymous. If you guys want some of the finest arrows, out there right now and a top build, hit up Kaylan at Arrows Anonymous. I'll be sure to tag your personal and Arrows Anonymous if you want. That way everybody
Yes.
can travel over you and check you out, get you tuned up for bow season coming up. I know we're talking about turkeys towards the end of this, and that's my fault. I spent way too much time trying to kill turkeys instead of doing a podcast about them. So next year, y'all just tune in. We'll do this a little bit sooner. But if y'all are hanging in there still, I appreciate you. And Kaylan, thanks again, buddy.
Appreciate you, dude.
All right, brother. Take care.